everyone, this is the Answers to Questions, podcast number 4. Let's get started. Question number 1, the cigarette lighter has stopped working. Can you give me some advice? Maybe you know where to look, what to do, how to fix it. Thank you. Logically, well, you need to start with the fuses. At the very least, you've probably checked, but if you haven't, there's a link. In the description of the owner's manual, there's a page. There are 2 options for fuses on this car, an eco option if you have a start-stop and a full option, whatever that means. 2 options like it, how your fuses might look. Okay, look for the fuse that's responsible for the cigarette lighter. It's going to be a 12-volt socket. Okay, check everything. If it's not it and the fuse is intact, well then it's worse. I would probably then open this panel a little bit. This one here. How to change the antifreeze by yourself without removing the protection of the lift and pit. Oh, to be honest, I didn't change the antifreeze, I changed it in the car. When they changed the timing belt, I didn't change it myself, I gave it to a service. That means they changed it for me. They changed the timing belt, the pump, changed the antifreeze. These are all the things. I didn't do it myself, but I read about it on a drive. Again, I didn't do it myself, didn't look. If you look at the car straight ahead, that is, you stand facing the engine compartment, then there should be a plastic spigot on the left side of the radiator. There should be a plastic spigot at the bottom of the radiator if I'm not mixing up anything. Of course, well, the problem is that over time, this spigot is it sours. It doesn't sour. In short, you can open it and not close it. You cannot open it at all. Break it, as far as I understood. People write reviews about this, which is debatable, but the car is young and not so many years old. It is unlikely that this will happen with this Peugeot. But if I understood correctly, we open this spigot, drain this whole thing, fill in a new antifreeze, then we need to vent the whole system, the valve maybe, or something like that. I don't know, let it be a valve. I don't know the exact name to vent it. He finds under the windshield, of course, from the hood side you crawl in, remove the hood, crawl there behind the engine. It's somewhere around the middle. Again, when I had this done, I saw, unfortunately I didn't take off, so I won't show. That is, I saw what behind the engine, somewhere closer to the cabin, it's almost under the dashboard, there's some escape, a valve to call it, to vent the system later, although again, to completely vent the system, just in case, 2 masters couldn't do it. A master changed my timing belt and antifreeze, vented, but he didn't vent all the way. The second master, when I had a problem with the air conditioner evaporator, when they removed the entire dashboard, all these things, they also removed the heater, duly drained the antifreeze, but not all of it. We filled it up and tried again. No matter what we did, we couldn't release the air. I was there with him. Nothing worked. Of course, you can expel some air from the system with the help of that valve, but it didn't work entirely. It only worked while driving, so that the car was completely warmed up to operational temperature, so that the second circuit opens in a larger loop to start driving, and over time, in about a week, after a couple of attempts, first the large circuit opens, you go somewhere, the level drastically drops, you can vent it well, and after driving a little more it drops a little further, and after that everything is fine. Yeah, that's how it ended up, but these are small subtleties. If you do it yourself, you might get scared, panic, thinking something went wrong. Next up, please explain how to adjust the side mirrors on the Pobeda so that there are no blind spots. But look, maybe I don't know something, but in my understanding, in any car there are blind spots in the mirrors. It's not for nothing that in certain configurations in this Peugeot, among other things, they install blind spot sensors because, well, this is physics. Well, more precisely, no, it's not physics, it's optics. You can't fool it here, you'll have blind spots in any case, no matter how you configure it, big, small. That's another question, but they'll still be there. Options for solving this are, well, either blind spot sensors, they're present in some configurations, or they put these tiny round mirrors. I've never used them. I don't know if they work or not. Well, they probably do. They don't put them there for nothing. This also allows you to see if you have a vehicle in the blind spots. I wanted to ask about chips, whether they are worth processing. For example, I have a chip 5mm in diameter at the bottom of the door. If it is not treated, something will happen. Well, look, if it's up to the ground, that is, it's not up to the paint, it's not up to the metal, then you will drive with this chip for a long enough time. Long enough and most likely not. Nothing much will happen to it. If it chips to the metal, then it's downright sad. Well, of course, galvanizing, grading here and there, the car will resist. There is corrosion. All this is lyrics. But sooner or later, you're going to have a dependency on how you drive. How much salt. Something will happen there anyway. But if you have a chip to the ground, personally I would advise you. I have already practiced this on cars more than once. Just take it. A hatch from the gas tank. Here's a video I'll attach to you now, how it is from... Let's say you now have an option and it's winter outside, you don't have a heated garage. Painting outside in the winter, well, that's a bit risky, you really shouldn't do that. Oh no, I would be afraid to try saving by doing that. You can use any lube you have, even poor man's Little, smear it on and drive happily. Whatever you have will work, no matter, it just has to keep out moisture and atmospheric precipitation. Like salt, that's it. Well, if you can manage and you need to drive till spring, preserve it, so to speak. Doesn't matter how your car looks in the winter. It looks terrible for everyone, so something like this, in total, if to the metal, it will most likely rust. So it's just a matter of time, but Peugeot is not progressing much. That is, it struggles with this. Well, it struggles for a while if you just make a small tube to the ground, let it lie in the car. There's some chip painted, that's okay. My fuel consumption in winter is now 10 liters in the city. Is that a lot or not? Or is something wrong because I'm already thinking of contacting the service? Well, look, let's not be unfounded. What else do we have? Winter. So look, I have a car that's 1.6 liters, 120 horsepower. Well, accordingly, a turbo diesel, obviously. The ecology is cut out in the car. The previous owner cut it out. I don't have an EGR, I don't have a particulate filter, I don't have an itty blue. I have nothing, I only have a 1.6 turbo diesel, that's all. And in case anyone didn't understand, let's say EGR. Well, a little bit, but still. It reduces fuel consumption. I don't have the unified state exam. So my fuel consumption on the car is a bit more. Compared to the same car with proper functioning ecology, I have 4,700 kilometers covered in the last period at an average speed of 37 kilometers per hour with a fuel consumption of 6.3 per 100. The vast majority of this was city driving with occasional trips on the highway. So a mixed regime with 75% city and 25% highway. But the main point is 37 kilometers per hour average speed consumption, 6.3 liters, that is. I'm talking about winter, it was full. Winter, the summer consumption was significantly less. It was around 5.4 to 5.6 liters. Well, look, somehow so, in my understanding, 10 liters, well, that's just a lot. It should not be like that. Maybe you're a racer switching gears at 300 revolutions per minute. I don't know. I can't tell, but that's a lot to my understanding. This is a lot based on my small experience owning a car with a particulate filter. Maybe something's wrong with your ecology. Specifically, if you drive a lot in the city, the car needs to do a particulate filter burn. From you, nothing is required. The car does everything itself, but there is a small nuance. You are driving in the city. It is winter now. Simmer a particulate filter, you need to smoke a car to a certain temperature. It fails, or the car does it succeeds, or it succeeds. It just begins to regenerate the filter, burn it through, and you've arrived. At work, that is, you once choked the machine, everything's bad, did not work. The second time, same situation. The third, same situation, and the snag, what? When a car makes a particulate filter stew, it consumes more fuel. That is, well, it's absolutely normal. This is how it is built. It consumes more fuel, the temperature rises in the exhaust system, it burns, it should be, and you, maybe, the car gives more fuel, raises the temperature, you come to work, that's it. He can't burn, you drive from work while he's warmed up, while he's back and forth and back, that's it. You've already home from work. You won't really heat diesel in the city. It's supposed to regenerate, it's necessary, well, at least to go somewhere on the track, or at least take a spin around the roundabout. If you're somewhere in Minsk, it's still good to have a nice long drive. Plus, in the winter it's willing and warms up. Maybe that's why there's no specific problem. Just a characteristic that it's cold, and short trips don't give it enough time to warm up. The regeneration process doesn't really happen. Your particulate filter gradually gets clogged very quickly. Regeneration doesn't happen, and fuel consumption goes up. Fuel consumption goes up partially. This fuel gets into the oil. It dilutes it a little bit, just a little, nothing major. You can live with it. But sadly, most likely, I think, probably so, if there are no more errors and nothing looks good on the engine. That is, most likely you just can't get the regeneration to happen. If I'm wrong, write in the comments. I'm a real person, I can be wrong. Well, neither yes nor no, I won't say anything. If suddenly it dies in 2.5 years, you'll be the first to know. Is it possible to adjust the headlights right to left? Maybe there's something wrong with me, but I couldn't do it. Up and down, yeah, everything's simple. Like all cars, screwdriver, Phillips, Everything's adjustable, right to left. I just didn't find anything. Hello, can you tell me how the EGR on the 389 is removed and cleaned? And in general, can it be cleaned? Thanks. Again, for those who have already heard, I have the EGR muffled as such. It's on the car, but it doesn't perform any function. So, to let you understand, I didn't remove it. I don't know. I won't give a hint. I'll give you a couple of links under the video, how it is roughly removed. Well, on at least similar engines. It's not necessarily on T9. The gist is about the same, but I'll say right away that it's a pain to film. It's quite a hassle. I watched it. There's a lot that needs to be taken apart. It's kind of awkwardly placed there. Not particularly convenient there. Well, it's just okay. So, someone writes, "You all are clueless. You can disable the folding of mirrors. Only they need to be unfolded once by hand, and no programs are needed. It's hard to agree or argue. I haven't tried. I don't know, although I heard something like it somewhere. The question is different. I dug through the entire manual yesterday, the entire instruction manual. And I didn't find a word about this technology that to turn off the automatic, you set it to 0? Not a word. It's like the user manuals for fools. No mention of it. Maybe this thing works, I don't know. Didn't try, there's no mention of it in the manual, God knows. Go ahead and try, I don't know, manually, that is, if you forcefully close and unfold them manually. I don't know, I can't recommend this method. Someone writes that they have 6 menu items. Someone else writes, I have the same number of functionalities and there's no power folding mirrors. I don't know. Again, with the help of the forum I read, people write, yes, there's a setting so the mirrors don't fold in without problems. It's mechanical manual. Well, that's controversial. Next question, does the firmware get erased when you remove the battery? Question, can I safely disconnect the battery? Question, I've repeatedly removed the battery, testing it out, stressing it before winter. I charged it, disconnected it. Consequently, nothing was lost. Everything's fine, no problems. The only thing I can't be certain about because my ecosystem is turned off. Somewhere saw, perceived, read, listened, can't remember. Need to do something post disconnecting the battery. Might need to adapt or do something with the EGR valve, or it could error. Could not be functioning properly if your eco is working. Something with the EGR valve happens after battery terminal is taken off. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's right, how to rectify it, I don't know, never dealt with it. Please write in the comments whether it's true or false, meaning if you disconnected the battery, then something needs to be done with the EGR, adapt it somehow or do something to the computer. The car shakes when starting. You asked me in the last video about a person who starts the car and it shakes violently. He's shaking it somehow. The answer, a friend's engine was shaking because his dual mass flywheel broke. He changed it, there was no problem. Well, as an option, but why does it only shake when starting? If it was a dual mass, probably it would manifest itself during movement, especially when changing gears or pulling away. Why only when starting? But maybe I'm not an expert in dual mass flywheels. I only know that a dual mass flywheel, it costs some money to change. Well, the part itself, again, the guy writes, they say, you need to eliminate the cause. Why it broke down, hard to say, I'm no expert. But when changing gears, I throttle a bit. I wouldn't say so, but sometimes there's that second gear change where you do have to play around with the clutch and gas a bit, maybe to speed things up. No, I don't go full throttle, everything's done within reason. Just a little gas, release the clutch a bit. I can't really describe it, it's something that happens automatically without me thinking about it. Next question, what kind of Webasto heater do you use? It isn't factory installed. Everything else is factory installed. I bought the Webasto separately and had someone install it for me. This Webasto isn't connected to the car's computer or anything like that. It runs on the battery, it's completely standalone. The car is completely separate from the Webasto. The only thing they share is the battery as a power source. What else is there? Well, you have a tube with antifreeze in it. We cut this tube, inserted a T connection in it, and installed the Webasto there. It takes cold antifreeze, heats it up, and pumps it further along the same pipeline. Here's how it works technologically. To keep it short, it's installed. I've already mentioned the left side. Under the wing on the driver's side, there's this even place, right under it is a bundle in a box. There's one basic element, let's say, a tricky corner there. You need to do everything. It fits there. Like a native, it connects, operates, plus I also bought a GSM module for the Webasto. Well, that seems to be all in terms of working on the Webasto. Briefly, I had it on the previous Opel, I installed it here. I am very pleased. Everything everything works like clockwork. It operates as simply as possible, or I just pressed a button on the remote that is in the car. Or like I did, I installed a GSM module with a SIM card that doesn't have a monthly fee. You just have to add a few coins to it every 3 months. That's it. No subscription fee to start the car remotely. You just pull out your phone, call the car. That's it. The car hangs up on you, so you have set off the starter. The Webasto begins to warm up. It will heat up for 30 minutes and switch off by itself, or until it reaches a temperature of around 85 or something. That means if your car is already warmed up, you accidentally call, there won't be such a situation where your car overheats and explodes. No, upon reaching the temperature, it shuts off automatically. The Webasto, if your car is already warmed up and you call, it won't start at all. It's automated. We're not all that dumb. As for its use, there were some technical issues, or maybe not. Specifically, this Peugeot had one problem. It had a hitch. So a guy who installed the Webasto heater for me, sometime later, a week later, as soon as I hit the highway and drove a little bit, I returned to my car and there's a puddle of antifreeze underneath it. A big one, maybe 1.5 or 2 liters had spilled out. I was panicking. What to do? Back and forth. I went to the guy who had installed it. If necessary, I can give you his number or you can contact me. I won't advertise directly, but he's a good guy and he fixed everything under warranty for me. The problem was that when you tap into the system, you cut one hose and have to insert a 3-way connector, and somewhere you need to install a corner so everything comes out properly. Comes as part of the Webasto package. Everything is authentic with the Webasto logo, all looking good, but the issue is something like this. Webasto provides all these corners, let's say 20 millimeters in diameter, I don't remember exactly, but it fits perfectly, the clamps are top notch. But once you're on the highway and you're driving normally, the pressure in the system gets too high at these corners and it leaks out, especially with the plastic corners that come with the set. Again, just so you understand, the guy who worked on my car, he explained that nearly all cars he worked on are fine. Problems only cropped up with Kia Sportages from like 2015 or 2016, he says. Before mine, someone had just come in with the exact same issue. He says he tried everything, but couldn't figure out why it kept leaking. Everything was stock and in great shape, all the hoses, the clamps, all fantastic. He couldn't solve it until he swapped the corner with an aftermarket one. Not the 20, but a 25 millimeter diameter one. You know, just slightly bigger. Then everything worked great. No more leaks like clockwork. It's all good. Other cars are fine with the standard factory size 20 millimeter corners. But he said for a Sportage like mine, that diameter was just not enough. But now with the 25 millimeter, it's running smooth. He had a Kia Sportage himself, he said. He says it flows, but for some reason on these corners, maybe they're defective or something, I don't know. Though visually everything's intact, everything is even. Everything flows, it misses. So I was his second client. He looked at my Peugeot right away. Off here. They just changed it right away because he already knew the issue. Otherwise, I haven't had a single problem with the Webasto. It's fantastic. Works like clockwork. I've lost track of time. Maybe it's been 5 or 6 years in total. Very handy thing, very expensive of course, but very cool. I recommend it to everyone. It doesn't heat up above 80 degrees even in summer. This is normal. It always goes up to 80 on the highway. Look, interesting point, many people know. Surely this topic has already been discussed 50 million times. But if anyone is not in the know, these are the temperature readings. There's a value of 90. There's a mark. Any sensible person would think that 90 is this value, but actually it isn't. French engineers, designers, they decided that they had to make it beautiful. So they beautifully placed all the numbers, striped everything evenly and beautifully. But in reality, 90 is not this mark. It's this mark. Don't ask why. Don't ask how. It's the French. They know better. It's more beautiful. So everything you've driven and thought was 80, it's not 80, it's 90. So everything is fine with you. The car heats up to 90. Don't thank me. Thank you. I just have a question. Why not higher than 200 revolutions per minute? 2 is normal. Below 1.5 is already abuse of the engine. Let's just say, in the city I have a limit on. I never shift to the 3rd gear or higher. If you are implying that it seemed in some video that I was driving at these RPMs, well, if I am filming with one hand, first of all, it's not very comfortable to drive and change gears. You need to understand secondly, I generally try not to drive at 1.5, unless it's on a track, since on the track it's generally fine. In 2nd and 3rd gear, up to 1.5 thousand revolutions per minute. I agree that it's somewhat hard on the engine. It doesn't like it much. Thirdly, modern diesels have advanced a lot. They have higher RPMs, which means you, at 1.200, 1.300, it's pretty rough on the engine. You need to keep it at around 1.600, 700 minimum. This is my personal opinion. When this car is in these ranges, you can even feel by the vibration that it's comfortable, nearer to 2000. It's absolutely fine. The shifting, not 2.5, well 200 I try to stick to, trying to keep it around 200. In conclusion, yes, I agree with you on 1.500, but for him, well, on the edge, 1.6 at least 1.6 revolutions per minute. Shifting to something? Yes, I won't argue. If you saw such a sin somewhere behind me, well, I'm sorry, please, I won't do it again. It's a bit bad. And also, to my knowledge, for a diesel, 1,500, that's fine, on the highway. I repeat, yes, there are also 1.5, 1.6, it's fine, but when somehow in the city or something, or some kind of load or halfway, 1.5, it's just not enough. You feel it by the vibration. It's not very good in the car, it's too low, it's not fine. It's been a little bit increased for a long time. Well, that's all for today. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.